Hello and welcome to the Halo series. This is Pat Bulmer, partner and co-founder at Halo Consulting, the certified minority-owned search firm that makes the experience of working with the process-oriented retained executive firm accessible to startups. Today for the Halo series, we're joined by a former candidate of mine who I helped place, Director of Product Marketing at Kobiton, Danielle Profita. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so jazzed to be here.
I really appreciate your time. And to get things started, would love to learn a little bit about how you got into your career as a journalism major in college. How did you get into or discover product marketing and set yourself up to continue taking that next step in your career?
Yeah, so I actually fell into product marketing as I feel like most marketers do. One of my coworkers, my counterpart, Adam, who leads demand generation at Kobiton, he said, I don't think I've met any marketers who are a marketing major in college. So honestly, I was working in fintech and I received a job offer from a recruiter who found me on LinkedIn and they said, I'm really interested in your creative experience. I had worked in journalism at the New York Post prior to getting into fintech. But it turns out software is my passion and I love leveraging that nerdy side of myself. And this recruiter said, have you ever heard of product marketing? And I said, no, what is that? I've been working in fintech. I was doing content strategy and I was working with the product team doing release notes and like documentation. And they said, well, you work with the product team and you make what they do sexy and then you tell sales. And I said, awesome. So that's essentially what I love to do because I could do sales every day of the week, but I'm more of a planner. So commission is not my ideal salary type.
I love that description of product marketing. You work with product and then you make it sexy for sales. And yeah, as a recruiter myself, I definitely didn't major in recruiting and had no idea it was a real business until I started as an unpaid intern. So I guess good advice for anybody out there that's not sure what they want in their career. Take recruiter calls.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, it's the most helpful thing you could do for yourself. And yeah, as long as you're a good conversationalist, I feel like, recruiting, you could place anyone.
As you've navigated your own startup career, Danielle, and as a marketing leader yourself, what type of positive or negative cultures have you seen, and how has that experience influenced the culture that you strive to create within your organization?
Yeah, so I have the privilege of leading an awesome team at Kobiton, and I'm actually a really like type A aggressive type person, but I have found with past bosses just, being micromanaged or having, tough conversations, whether they're being had with me or I'm having them with someone else, I prefer to be more of a laid back leader. Just because you really want to trust the people that you brought on board and you interviewed them and you put a lot of time into them. So, or they came from a, trusted recruiter. And so just trusting that people can do the job and then evaluating it from there and saying, hey, like, just stay organized. And like, these are our goals. And if you're producing, like, that's awesome.
I really appreciate that, and good insight for our viewers as well. What one of the big cultural changes that we've seen so far in 2023 is that more and more companies are returning to the office, moving away from the fully remote based model. How, what's your perspective on in office, fully remote, or being somewhere in between?
Yeah, this is my favorite question. You ask me what keeps you up at night. I think like what is different and unique about my situation, like who I am, is that my parents have worked from home the last 30 years. And so I grew up with that, watching them grow a very successful business and working extremely hard. And that's all I knew is having someone at home and the flexibility of being able to have work-life balance, but also saying like, okay, if I'm going to have to go run out to the bank in the middle of the day, we're going to, work till 7 and stuff like that. And so it's so normal for me to maintain that balance. And when the pandemic struck, I actually felt a huge weight lifted off of my shoulders. because I was going into an office 5 days a week, and that's just like not who I was.
Mhm.
And I didn't really know how to find a way out of that. I was looking at consulting jobs, traveling consulting type jobs, because I thought that may be more freeing for me. And I ended up falling into a role in marketing technology, which I absolutely loved, which really propelled my product marketing career. But coming back to the work from home versus work in the office setup, um, I really love going to the office. I'm really blessed to have a job that will fly me in whenever they want. And Kobiton is located in Atlanta, which is where I'm from. So it's awesome to go home and see coworkers and also friends and family. But I just love the ability that it gives you and the freedom and the trust that employers can have that that person is going to do their job. And I think as long as you're getting the job done,
Mhm.
it's not an issue. I mean, luckily I live in mountain time now, but I work East Coast hours, which is actually awesome because I'm able to get out at the end of the day and it's sunny, and spend time, doing things that I love.
No, I definitely agree, as do I'm sure most recruiters out there. Just just curious, Danielle, did you ever work in an in-office environment earlier in your career?
Oh, so yeah, I did. The first 4 to 5 years of my career, I was chained to my desk. Which I generally enjoyed, everyone that I worked with, so that was awesome. And going into the office does have perks, and I personally feel that just looking back on like the commute and the
Mhm.
various things that relate to just like I don't know if you have to leave to go to a doctor's appointment, it's a whole thing, and just navigating the scheduling of stuff like that when you're just in an office environment, I feel like I get so much more done at home. It's like I love like when someone comes and stops by my desk to chat, but it's like, wow, I just lost 30 minutes when I could have really gotten that thing done. And it's like we just talked about what they did over the weekend, and it's like becomes social hour. And you're talking to a social butterfly, like socialite. And people think it's so funny that I enjoy working from home because I really do enjoy being around people, but I just also very much enjoy getting the job done. And so many of the people that I work with, they also work remotely or they're in Atlanta and they do a hybrid function, which is awesome. And so we're able to just hop on Zoom or, I'm reachable by my cell phone. If someone really needs me, I'm always there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started my career in office, and it was helpful earlier in the career, especially not knowing about recruiting at all, but I would definitely never go back or ask anyone to.
Right.
Um,
It's hard. Yeah. Because you want to do what's best for yourself, but also people that you're supporting, which I think is a really unique balance that we've struck at Kobiton. Because our CEO, Sean Barry, who's awesome, he's an in office guy and he's like,
mhm,
come in whenever, fly in whenever. Like, we would love to have you. But he knows when he came on board, there was a lot of awesome people that just didn't live in Atlanta. And it would be hard to move back to Atlanta considering I live in Vail, Colorado now. And I just look at the mountains and it's wonderful.
uh, I I know you've mentioned Kobiton a couple of times. Can you tell us a little bit about, your current company, the product, who the audience is that you're marketing towards?
Yeah. So this is what I tell people when I meet them out and about, because truly this is what product marketing is about: making something digestible to talk to your friends and your family about what you do. At the end of the day, we're all like brothers and sisters and friends, moms and dads, and you don't want to be bombarded with technical jargon. So
Mhm,
at Kobiton, we focus on mobile excellence and we make sure the apps on your phone work properly. So nowadays we do everything on our phones, right? You'll call an Uber. Kobiton will power that experience to make sure that you're going to get in the car and get to where you're going. Or you're booking a flight, across the country on Delta or Southwest. If that's not working properly, or an enterprise wants to make sure their app is accessible for people with visual impairments or audio impairments, they can use Kobiton as the platform to QA their apps. And
mhm,
so, with our variety of hardware and software, we have a device lab that developers and testers can test every single device under the sun, like you have an iPhone, you have an Android, do you have something else funky? And they have to make sure each enterprise company, if you walk into Home Depot, they don't know, they're not assuming everyone has an iPhone, but they want to make sure everyone can pull up the Home Depot app and get to the right aisle and find that perfect paint color for their house. Sherwin-Williams Urban Bronze was the color of the year a couple years ago, and that's like my favorite color. So yeah, it's very interesting. I have never worked in QA tech, and we have an AI function. And I just think, AI is the future. We're helping developers and testers create test scripts. We support manual functions and automated functions, and we have a really cool, the AI function, it's scriptless. So, turning manual tests into scriptless tests that can run at the drop of a hat. So it's very neat. I pride myself on working in fintech, martech, and now QA and AI tech. So I think that has given me a variety of experience in product marketing and the ability to talk about things that people may sound scary to people, but it's like at the end of the day, if this app isn't working on your phone, this company can either purchase or leverage our software that they already use to make sure it does.
It's great description, and I think anybody watching is looking at their phone or their device and being a little bit surprised that they're benefiting from Kobiton and maybe haven't heard about him before.
Right.
Uh, how how important is it to leverage existing online communities to get the word out about your product, or create your own community if that's part of your strategy?
Yeah, so interesting question and lead in, because this has been a nice stretch actually in my experience in my career this far, is that I have worked in enterprise sales motion before at tech companies that are targeting enterprises.
Hmm.
And that's like what I would say is my expertise, is talking to those decision makers, director level and above, like what is really the reason why you want to buy our platform, like what's the ROI. However, when I came into Kobiton, we had a big PLG, which is product led growth motion. So going from the bottom up, meeting developers, meeting testers, saying, what's hard about your day to day? What are you losing time on? And what we've recently released at Kobiton is this saying, get your Monday back. So developers and testers will set up tests to run over the weekend, and they'll come back and they'll be, they may fail. And so then they have to go back to the drawing board, and they're sitting there with something that was totally non-productive. At Kobiton, when we run our tests, we have an option to turn on something called Flex Correct. So if the test is running and then it fails and it says, oh, your app just, it's not ADA compliant on this screen, like the color contrast is bad, and that test would normally stop with another platform. But with Kobiton, if you turn on Flex Correct, it'll insert or give you the option to insert a new piece of code or a suggestion where it would allow the test to keep running. So when the developer or tester comes in on Monday to the office or turns on their computer at home, it'll say, okay, your test ran and it finished. But at this point, there was an issue. So that's what we were doing, is getting into the nitty gritty, talking to people. I think there was like a Reddit motion before I came on board. And so we've been transitioning from that product led growth motion, because we have reached those developers and testers and we have talked to them and we do interact with them at conferences. And now we're saying, let's take this to your boss, because if you really would like to have a more productive, collaboration type work environment with your team, we're going to have someone who's a decision maker and a wallet holder to make that purchase. So we're kind of turning on our heads and saying, listen, we're really great for the enterprises out there, like the Bank of Americas, anyone who you would pick up the phone for. Think like a dating app. All
Hmm.
of those things need to be tested. And so we're now saying, okay, how are you guys powering your apps? Like, the Weather Channel. How are you making sure your app works properly? And just going to the top and asking and saying, are you having a good experience, or are people deleting your app? If you don't get an Uber, like, you may download Lyft. Like, you just don't know. And
Yeah.
so we're helping those customers avoid app abandonment and increase like customer engagement.
Love it. Uh, and so as we close out here, if there was one piece of advice you wish you had received about product marketing or getting into product marketing or being a successful product marketer, what would that advice be?
Never be afraid to ask for what you want, and never be afraid to be told no.
Love it.
Because as a woman in tech, like that's just how you have to be. And I'm a big supporter of getting things out there and trying new things and being a leader just because I love people leading. And so ask for feedback, ask for suggestions, ask how do I get to the next place in my career? Because if you don't ask, you'll never know.
Really appreciate that. And right before I close out, Danielle, for our viewers out there, who should reach out to you? How should they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn. And I would love anyone, really, anyone in tech, women in tech, please reach out. Women in leadership. I love connecting with people. And yeah, I would love to hear from you guys. So I really appreciate the time, Patrick. Lovely seeing you as always.
Thanks, Danielle. Really appreciate you joining. And for our viewers, please subscribe to our YouTube page to get more content like this, or check out our website, haloconsulting.com.